Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at user input in Python. Now one of the things I've probably shown you here is that we've done all these other things, but we haven't taken a look at how to get things from the user, except in a couple examples, especially when we started dealing with the loops earlier. Now user input is a little challenging because you're going to be getting all of their input basically through the terminal. Now of course you're saying, can't we use the mouse and stuff like that for input? And the answer is you absolutely can, but we need a special module for that purpose. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. So I'm going to create a simple little var here, and I'm going to ask the user for the value of that var. So to do that, I'm simply going to type in inputs, and I'm going to use my little quotes here and basically give the user the prompt. So type in a value. One of the things I'll do is I'll go ahead and run this. Actually, before we do that, I'll make a little f string here and say print you chose, just to keep things simple for us. You typed var. Let's go ahead and run this sucker real quick. It's going to say type in a value. Blah. All right, so you see a couple different problems here right away. One thing you'll notice is the fact that my little string that I put inside the quotes here, you can see very confusingly, there was no space at the end of it. The second thing you'll notice is that when it came back nice and ready to go, and that's actually pretty good. So let's fix the first problem first. I'll come in here and press the space bar there. If I run the command again, you'll notice that it's giving me a little space now. So if I type in 64, you can see that the 64 is kind of ready to go. It's a little bit better formatted. You can also see if I come down here, the fact that it's still giving us back that value just the way that we wanted it. Now, there are some problems with these little strings that we're going to be generating and getting from the user. And that's the fact that every single time you ask the input command, you will always get a word back regardless of what you type. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say I say create a value. This is number one. I say give me number, and I'll go ahead and be old school here. I'll do this \t. That's a good throwback from ages ago. I could say num2 equals inputs, give me another number, and I'll go ahead and say \t. Again, we've talked about those before. Now I want to add those two numbers together, so I'll say sum equals num1 plus num2, and I'll go ahead and print sum. We'll be professionals here. The sum is sum. Now, if I go ahead and run this real quickly here, type in a value, that's the first one. Give me a number, 5. Give me another number, 5. Okay, what's 5 plus 5? The answer is 55. What? You're sitting here going, what? Wait, what? No, that doesn't make sense. 55 is, oh, I see what it did. It concatenated. Yeah, it did. So what it actually did is it took the first string I typed in here, and it took the second string, concatenated them, put them together, and then it spit it back out at me. It did no math whatsoever to it. So you went, oh, that's frustrating. Well, I wanted it to do math. How would I fix that? We'll call this one broken sum. Just in case you need notes here. Broken sum results in concatenation. I probably spelled that wrong. We'll do it the right way. So let's go ahead and take those values. Remember, num1 and num2 have been assigned, so we're now ready to use them. So I'm going to type in num1 equals, and I'm going to type in a command to convert that string into a number so that I can actually do some math into it. So to do that, I'm simply going to type in int num1, num2 equals int num2. Now let's see if it works. Let's grab my copy paste there, and let's see what happens this time. Type in a value, 64. 5 and 5 is 55, but the sum is 10. The reason that works now is because we have taken that string, remember the string is what we get out of the input command, converted it into an integer, and then saved it again, converted the other one into an integer, and then saved it again as well. Now, some of you sit there and go, well, that's pretty cool. The other way. Some people will see this and go, can't you do something like this? Yes, you absolutely can. And very sharp-eyed viewers will immediately point out the fact that because we've already converted them into integers here, we technically don't need to do this because they already are integers. As a matter of fact, if I run it, just to demonstrate that it's not going to get grumpy at me, it'll say 10. And the reason that works is because we converted a number into a number, so it worked perfectly fine. Now, people start getting a little complicated with this. Well, let me show you what I mean. You see stuff like this. So let's say I'm doing distance formula. Distance formula, good review here. So let's say, what do we need to know? We need to know x1, x2, x3, x4, kind of a thing like that. So you do something like this. You do x1 equals input, and you get all the values, and it looks a little bit like this. And of course, very, very slick people will say, oh, these could be decimals, and I really don't want integers. So is there a way to convert them into floats instead? The answer is yeah. You simply type in the word float. So what they do is they do something like this. You grab your little float statement and you wrap this around just like that. So right, and you get this big messy thing. And of course, we got to compute distance here. That's pretty easy. Let's see here. And you end up with something that looks like that. Which is, oh, did I forget a parenthesis? Nah, I got it right this time. Cool. So then, of course, you can come in here and say something like f, the distance is distance. Just like that. Now, if we wanted to test it to make sure it works, we could just hit run. Give me a value, 5, 5. Let's see here. This will be 0, 0. This will be 10, 10. And you can see there we get a total distance of 14. My TV is 14 inches wide. So the formula does work because we're basically taking the input and immediately converting it into a value, doing our math, and then we're going to go ahead and spit it out with our handy dandy little F string here. Now, this creates problems. And let me show you what I mean. So type in a value, 6455. Let's say I do 0, I do 1, I do 50 space, and I do minus 50 space, and I run that. You'll notice no issue. Spaces don't break that. So I'll run it again, 5, 5, and we'll do 0, 1, 0, 5. Enter, error, broken, computer failure, go home. And you can see it creates a big problem here on account of the fact that we can't convert strings that aren't numbers into working numbers. Therefore, our math is completely busted. So as you can see here, that doesn't work. Is there a better way to do this? The answer is yeah. We actually did that in the last video where we built a function that actually cleans this up to make sure people only can give us numbers before we do it. But again, you can see something like that. Now, again, you can go back and take a look at that video, or you can go take a look at the attached code if you want to see how I did that. Now, of course, one of the things we can do is we can get really, 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 really ugly. Let me show you how ugly we can get here. Ugly input statements. Let's go ahead and make them. Oh, helps if you spell that correctly. Let's make it ugly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post in my piece here, and you're going to cry just a little bit. So let's go ahead and grab one of these. Actually, we need x2 here, so I need input x2. So I'll paste that right there. Let's grab my y1. I'm going to grab this one right here. There's y1. I'll go ahead and paste that. Let me go ahead and get my y2. We'll grab that as well and paste that in here. Ooh. Ugh. Ew. Let's go ahead and run that. Let's see, 6455, 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. And you can see that it is broken. That usually means that when I was doing my copy paste, I copy pasted one of the ones wrong when I was punching it in. But you can see very, very, very clearly how disgustingly messy this is. This is a disaster waiting to happen. You can see not only was it a disaster waiting to happen, but it successfully broke. As a matter of fact, I can see exactly where it broke. Not going to fix it. But one of the things is you have to be so careful that just because you can does not necessarily mean that you should. This is a legal thing that I did here, but it's a lot less clear from a code perspective than some other options that we could possibly utilize here for this particular purpose. Now, the last thing we're going to go ahead and take a look at is importing things into a list. So ugly, I commented it out. Yeah, I can't stand this. This is painful. I'm just going to comment it out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to see how we can build a quick little loop to get a certain number of elements from a user. So let's go ahead and say elements. So we'll keep it nice, simple. Actually, we'll go old school. We'll say my list, and we'll make it a blank list. So what I'm going to do is have a loop, keep looping until we type something in, and it's going to add each one of the things I type in one at a time. So I'm going to start by giving myself a handy-dandy little while true list here. While true, just like that. And I'm going to say, let's say Q, keep it easy. Yep. Input, what item should I add to the list? Type Q and enter to stop. Nice. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to see if they typed in Q. So if you got to be careful there if Q equals Q, but we can do that. If Q equals Q, we're going to break. Else, we're going to take the item that they gave us and add it to my list. Bam. So now when we're done, we can do for item in list, my list, and print item. Now the cool thing here is every time I type in an item other than Q, what it's going to do is it's going to add that item into my list and keep going around and around and around, adding it one at a time. Now, if I wanted this to be a list of integers, I could come in here and turn it into an integer before adding it to my list, for example. And this little guy right here would simply go ahead and do that. So if we wanted to blitz through our program one more time here, 1, 2, 3, 4, it would say enter item in a list. we'll say box, toaster, aluminum foil, maple syrup, and Q. Now, what you'll notice is it kept adding those items to my list one at a time. And the moment I press Q and enter, it bailed from my list. So we got a nice little review of whiles. We also got a nice little review of using our input command as well. Now, there's a lot of other fun things that we can do with strings, but we're going to save that for another day. Enjoy.